Jose Moralejo, founder of Freedom Mastery, and my good friend, just took a ketone shot, so he's either going to be just blasting through this podcast with knowledge, or he's going to fall asleep. I don't know. We're going to find out. He's guinea pigging.
You guys caught me at a good time because normally, a lot of times when people do like speaking gigs and speaking events, they want to make sure they get enough rest and that they're totally prepared. I'm like the opposite, where I actually I prefer to be on low sleep because my rants are so much better. It's like my thinking mind, well, I guess that's with the IQ thing here. My thinking mind just kind of goes to the side, and then it's just all like truth and all of like my deepest truths that come out, and I tend to rant them. So
it's perfect. It makes sense. It's like your prefrontal cortex kind of shuts down because it didn't have enough sleep. So then you just go into flow. You just rant. Exactly.
It's just like the conscious mind is completely removed from it, and it's all like the things that I've been studying for years and years and years just start to come out. So like in Freedom Mastery, whenever I do weekly calls with all my clients, like a weekly mastermind on Wednesdays. And anytime they know that I'm low on sleep because of like travel or I had an event or something, they're always like, all right, we're going to get some good shit this week, so.
Nice. They'll try to like keep you up the night before with phone calls to make sure that you're loopy the next day.
Waking me up at 5 a.m. Yeah.
So tell us about Freedom Mastery. Like, what is that exactly?
So Freedom Mastery was my spin. I'll tell you how I got into it. That's probably the best way I can explain this. So I've been in the personal growth and development since I was like 16. I read my first book, The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy, when I was 16. So pretty odd for a 16-year-old to be, wanting to learn about this stuff. Very different from like even all my friends. They just wanted to like smoke weed and skip class. And I'm here like reading a psychology book.
How did you find that book?
I went, my mom was always into like the Tony Robbins stuff. So I had seen like Tony Robbins and Gary Vee was kind of like coming up at that point. This was like 2011 or something. And we would go to Barnes and Nobles. I would go with my mom. And one time we went to like the psychology section, and she goes, "Oh, you should read that book." And it was a brown book by Dr. Joseph Murphy and The Power of the Subconscious Mind. And at the same time, I was in like advanced placement psychology classes at my high school. So it was just like, oh, subconscious mind. I've been learning about that stuff. Let me get the book. So that's how I kind of stumbled upon that. Fast forward a few years, when I graduated university, I got really heavy into sales. And I was the number one high ticket closer for a company. If you guys ever know, like the Real Social Dynamics guys, if you ever saw them,
Julian?
Cook. Yeah, Julian Blanc, Owen
Blanc.
Cook, Derek Moneyberg, all those guys. So I worked with them for like a year and a half or so. I was the number one high ticket closer. And one of the biggest things I learned from them, it's like, well, I love all this growth and development stuff, but also the way that they do it is like very much different from how I actually want to do it. And I realized like, okay, I made these guys $1.9 million in like a year and a half just doing sales for them. I'm like, if I can even just do like 20% of that for myself, I'd be extremely happy. I'd be very, very happy. So I basically reverse engineered everything that I was doing with them and started my own company. And that's always been like my life's calling. So I don't know if like, I'm sure you guys have like your own purpose in life. And so for me, over time, the more like clarity and the more I've mastered myself and the more I've connected with myself on a very deep level, I began to realize that my purpose, at least part of it, because you evolve and you change over time, but at least a big part of my purpose is to be one of the best communicators in the world and one of the biggest thinkers of our generation. So as I was doing high ticket sales for them, I started posting content and started building my personal brand. Naturally people are going to reach out and be like, hey, so like, can you coach me through this? Or I had people that I closed on the Real Social Dynamics offer that were reaching out to me after they finished coaching with them. Like, hey, can I do like coaching with you, man? Like, is that an option? And I'm like, like conflict of interest, like I don't want to do business that way. But you only hear that enough times before you're just like, okay, maybe I have something here. So about 3 years ago, I started Freedom Mastery. And it's evolved over time, but what it is right now, it's a 20-week mastermind. I do a combination of one-on-one and group coaching. There's a 17-hour digital program that comes with it. And I specifically focus on, it's a pretty general offer. You guys know about like the coaching space, right? Like they always mention you have to niche down your offer. It needs to be like a specific, like, I coach, tech people that are 25 to 26 and a half on, super specific. I've always kept it more broad because I just feel like if I pigeonhole myself into like any specific niche, it kind of loses a lot of the magic that goes into Freedom Mastery. So, but what I generally say is like the result I give people is I help them make more money and I help them attract higher quality relationships, whether that's romantic partnerships if they want, or if just knowing how to network with other high level individuals, that kind of thing. So, and I do, there's a bunch of frameworks that I use, but the main one is, I call it the Triforce of Mastery. Okay. So the Triforce of Mastery, you guys ever play the game like Zelda? You ever played Legend of Zelda? Okay, cool. You know, like in like the original Ocarina of Time, right? There was like the Triforce.
Yeah, dude, the Triforce.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
Dude, I used to be able to do it. Hold on.
You can actually make the triangles.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
Triforce, dude.
The Triforce of Tony over here.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Well, you guys actually know the game. Like 99% of the time I mention, oh yeah, Legend of Zelda. They're like, what? You know? So you guys are OGs.
Like, is that a sushi roll?
Yeah, I can tell we'll get along because if you guys are into that stuff, then, you know, my kind of people. But in that game, it was like the Triforce of Courage, the Triforce of Wisdom, and the Triforce of Power. So I sort of like adapted that in like a personal development sense and just like as a framework on how to achieve self-mastery within yourself. So I basically took the same concept and I was like, okay, mindset mastery, which is like wisdom, emotional mastery, which is like the courage, and then communication mastery, which is like the power and your ability to express that internal confidence and that internal mastery out into the world. And so, you know, use your power of communication to be able to articulate things in very difficult ways, to be able to speak with power, to speak with certainty, with clarity, and to not be nervous in any given situation, to, even if you are nervous, to be able to find the information that's in your brain right now so you can give that message to the world. So, you know, for that reason, that's where the Freedom Mastery was born. And
I can feel that, like your speech fills the room a lot. Like it's very loud and powerful.
Yeah.
So when you take someone through that 20-week like course, that foundational learning, what are the components that people are learning more detail wise? Like what are they going through to actually find that power within themselves?
Yeah, great question. So it's very personalized. It's individual. And if I might add to that, like I think this is where a lot of personal growth programs on the market, or anybody that does something similar of just like any kind of mindset coaching, or I don't know, like even spiritual masterminds and things like that. I think one of the big components that they miss, and why like a lot of times their clients just don't get great results, is because it's not like personalized. The truth is that like every single person has their own unique journey. So what's going to work for you isn't necessarily going to work for him, and what works for you guys won't necessarily work for me. So to answer that question specifically, it's like everyone's a little bit different, but generally speaking, it's like on the front end, when they start working with me, I focus very, very specifically on introspection. So it's like, okay, who are you? What do you want to create? If nothing was holding you back and you were 100% confident in yourself, what would your life look like? What kind of jobs would you be doing? If you didn't have a job, what kind of business do you want to create? Where would you live? Who would be appropriate companions for that life? So we get very specific about like what it is that they actually genuinely want to create. And then we go into implementation. So like phase one is a lot of questions, a lot of deep conversations. I'm very good with like, I'm not like a hypnotist per se, but I'm very good with like conversational hypnosis. I'm not like sleep, you know, and then you're like, you know, right? Yeah.
Fuck, it worked.
Yeah. I can't do that. Although like some of my closest friends are like some of the strongest hypnotists in the world. And I've learned a lot of things from them. So I guess I can just like, you know, make people fall asleep, but I just don't have enough practice at it that I can.
Your homie, Mark, hypnotist, right?
Which one?
Mark? Isn't he a hypnotist? Mark Zeal? Am I thinking of a different dude?
No.
Thought he was your buddy.
No, Well, Eli. So I met Eli Wild through one of my good friends. His name's Marcel Klein. And,
Marcel.
That's
close.
Mark. Oh, okay. Mark.
I was thinking Mark with a C.
Marcel. Yeah. His name is spelled Marczell. But really great friend of mine. We were business partners last year. And so I was helping him with some sales organization stuff. He was helping me with some marketing things. And but yeah. So guys like that. And then I met Eli Wild through him actually. So through that connection, here we are, right? So that's what I focus on specifically with my clients. It's like, all right, what is it you specifically want? And then, all right, now that we have a tremendous amount of clarity around what it is you want out of your life, what unique opportunities do you have to make that a reality, right? So, you know, we were talking about one of my good friends, Nick, right? Nick is an artist here, and he just put out his first track on the market. He put it on Spotify, and within 2 weeks he got 50,000 plays, and he's basically got like no social media following, you know? So he was a client of mine about 1.5 years ago, and when he first started working with me, he wanted to be he had just finished his 3 or 4 years in the military, and he was like, I've known him for a long time, and he goes, Jose, like, I don't know what you're doing, but I've known you for a long time. I trust you. I believe in your confidence. And I know that like there's something valuable in like what you're doing that can benefit my life tremendously. So we started working together. And at the time he was transitioning out of the military, he wanted to do real estate. And I'm like, dude, do you actually want to do real estate? Like, if you sat down and just like the questions I was saying, if you did a bunch of introspection and you connected with yourself at a very deep level, can you honestly say at the end of your life, Nick, that you would say, yeah, I'm a real estate guy. That's what I wanted to do with my whole life. And I saw through it enough to be like, Nick, I don't think that's you, bro. And he agreed. And it's, because on the energetic plane, right, we can get into even like spiritual shit. On the energetic plane, there is no lies. You can't lie. The truth is there. The 100% truth is there. So the way his experience of like why he wanted to do real estate was completely backwards. He wanted to do it because that's like what makes a lot of money and it's cool and it's professional and shit like that. But the truth is he wanted to be a musician. He's always had like an artistic endeavor. So the way how I coached him was essentially like, all right, well, treat this like a business, right? Don't treat it like a starving artist who's just like trying to get by. No. Let's maximize your opportunity. So that way, like a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, you can be playing shows. You can go down to Tulum. You can go to Marbella with me when I go there next month, So, and he's doing all those things. All those things are a reality. So, and then I have other guys who like, they'll come in wanting to run their own entrepreneurial venture and they make 100K in like 2 months, 4 months, whatever the case might be. Some of them are young. Some of them are, my age, but yeah. So that's kind of what we go into.
Awesome, dude. And I got to give it to Nick too. Like watching him come up in the DJ scene, because that was a scene I was a part of for a long time in Seattle. Watching him do it, he truly is running it like a business. Like he comes in, he's like, all right, I need to book this many shows per week. And he's like making projections on how many bookings he has to get. And like, okay, if I make this much and I can put this much towards, this new equipment. And like, he's very detailed in the way that he's running it, which most DJs, most musicians, most artists are not doing.
Right.
It's very much just go with the flow. So he's able to put in that sort of masculine drive into doing the art form.
That's the thing, because like a lot of times artists, you can be the best musician in the world. I know some people. I have friends and people that I've met throughout my life, incredible musicians, like so good, like singing or playing an instrument, but they don't have that part, like the entrepreneurial mindset, the communication skill sets, the negotiation skill sets, right? Like I can't tell you. I've talked to people that have won Grammys and they're still broke. Like I remember when I was working for Real Social Dynamics, I talked to a guy he was like 54, 55. And he won a bunch of Grammys. I can't remember the guy's name, it was so long ago, but I was trying to close him on the program and he's like, yeah, I just don't have money right now. I really want to do this. But I'm like, wait, you said you won like 6 Grammys and you helped all these people produce songs. He's like, yeah, the business scene is like, it's not as profitable if you don't have the right skill sets. And that's why he wanted to do like some of those communication programs. My cousin won a Grammy. He won a Grammy, Latin Grammy last year for doing a song. He's a sound engineer and he produced a song with Bad Bunny and Eladio Carrion. So some Spanish artists, but he won a Grammy, but same deal,
Yeah, my brother-in-law also Grammy, or I think Grammy nominated, was the drummer for Aerosmith for a while.
Cool.
I mean, he's doing okay.
Your brother-in-law was a drummer for Aerosmith.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Down in Vegas.
That's fucking awesome.
When they had their residency in Vegas, dude, he would do percussion for Aerosmith. He's like
so sick.
Homies with Steven Tyler. I actually had Thanksgiving dinner with Steven Tyler because of him. It's kind of a crazy story.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was wild. But you're right. Like to be an artist is inherently, it's like a feminine flow because you have to be in flow to be a good artist. And it's inherently feminine. But to be the business driven is a masculine. It's really hard for people to balance both of those things.
Yeah. Well, the thing about like something more feminine like music, for example, it's like you get into a flow state, then you're creating something out of nothing, right? So it requires like masculine is like penetrative outward and then feminine is introspective and reflective, right? So in order for you to tap into your magical essence of being able to create from nothing, you have to have that feminine capacity. But this is like you're saying, this is exactly where like the majority of artists that there's so many good ones, but they don't actually go anywhere. Yeah. And it's because they don't treat it like a business. Like, hey, you need to learn how to negotiate for real, bro. Because like you'll sign some fucking contracts and you don't even know what the fuck you're signing.
Totally.
And
you sign your whole life away.
And you don't even have the confidence to like stop it because, like, what if I lose out and shit? It's like, no. You have to like genuinely understand how business works, how sales works, right? Like I think of all the skill sets anybody can build, it doesn't matter what industry that you're in. You could be a crypto person, crypto investor, any kind of investor. You can be an influencer. You can be a musician. You can be a chef. Everything requires a high level communication skill set. So, it's not enough to just be like good at the craft. Like part of it, like this is even what I coach into a lot of my clients. A lot of my clients are software engineers also. And the hard skills as a software engineer gets you the job, but the soft skills gets you pay raises and promotions. Because if you know how to like code the thing or whatever, like they tell me about it all the time. I'm like, I'm not a techie.
Code the thing.
They just code the
technical
thing.
term.
Yeah. That's I think that's what what's his name? Who's the guy that created Steve Jobs? He said it that way, right? That just code the thing, right? And so they're good. They're really good at that part, but they just don't know how to build teams or lead teams or delegate certain things, right? So I've had clients like within a few weeks of working with me, I'm like, no, like the holidays are coming around. This is the time to negotiate for those pay bonuses, and they'll get like a 30% pay raise just by like asking for it, and then they'll also get like remote work over in the office plus like 3 weeks paid vacation. This happened like a bunch of my clients, right? But part of it is like that communication skill set, being able to say exactly what's on your mind, being able to leverage your value in a way that like lets the other person kind of come to you. Because like, what do most people do when they want a pay raise? Hey, if you don't give me that raise, I'm going to leave. It's like, well, good luck with that approach. You're not going anywhere, right? But if you say, hey, look, I've been working really hard. I've been one of the top performers. I have excelled and exceeded all expectations to a high degree. And I know that you guys value me as an employee. So now you're presupposing that they value, right? So I know you guys value me as a valued member of this team. And in order for me to stay with this team, I would be, if you guys are open to considering this, I would like to talk about doing it at this level, and it's like, okay, now it's like, and you come at it from the frame of like, by the way, I'm also willing to take on more responsibility so I can provide even more value to this team and to this company. Okay. So, let me know how that sounds and we can talk about it. If you take that approach, man, like the world opens up to you. So, I like to really instill that into a lot of my clients. And we also go into a lot of like the masculine and feminine dynamics because, especially in like today, if you like, we were talking about like the Instagram algorithms and, just a second ago, but if you just even scroll through social media and through Instagram, there's so many different and conflicting messages on this subject that it's like, okay, what do I even do? Do I be more masculine? Do I be more feminine? So,
how do you help people figure that out?
Yeah. Well, like I said before, it's very personal, like the details are in the nuance. And so if you just take like an Instagram video or like an Instagram reel and you're like, oh, I need to be like more like this, right? We all know like the Andrew Tates, right? That was really popular for a long time. It still is. So a lot of guys are like, I need to be more masculine. I need to be like hard, more work even harder.
Stay hard.
Yeah. like Jocko Willink.
Or our favorite guy, Mr. Wes Watson.
Wes Watson, right?
Yeah. Wes.
He's getting slammed right now. But, but that kind of thing, right? So now like a lot of people think that means being more masculine, to be like overt and loud and take up a lot of space. So masculine energy can look like that, but also for a lot of people, like even like myself, I can do that if I want to. I could be, yeah, motherfucker, get up and work hard. 100 hours a week. Let's go. I can do that. And I do that to my clients when they need to hear that. But also it needs to come from a place of like integration, right? So that's really what I help my clients. I help them integrate the masculine with the feminine, because the reality of it is, it's like, if you're only masculine, that's actually weak masculine. If you're competitive about everything and everything is like, I say we can, everything is like a dick measuring contest about every little aspect.
You say whatever you want.
Okay. And you're just comparing yourself to every single person in that kind of way. Like that.
It's like insecure masculine.
Correct. Like if you can't cry, and it's not to, I would never advocate, like a lot of my clients, when they do work with me, they do symptom a lot. Like and I say symptom as in like they feel, there's a lot of emotions that come up, and you can't like, you wouldn't even begin to know how much guilt and shame there are around feeling these emotions. And I'll never advocate for anyone to like sit around and cry like a little bitch and complain that like the world is holding them back or, whatever. But also there needs to be like, that's really what integration is, when you're able to feel those feelings and like acknowledge that part of you that feels that way, but then not sit there, not stay there and move past it. Right. So that's a way I facilitate, like, even nowadays, the way even brand, how I coach people is like, heal your way to wealth and success. Heal your way to wealth and success. Because that's really like, I can't tell you how many times I've met people that are like massively successful, millions of dollars, crazy cars, or big businesses, or a lot of status and all this stuff. And like, they're fucking miserable.
Totally.
They're so miserable. And they spent so much time cultivating what society deems as successful or what other people thought would be successful. And, maybe they did it. Maybe they did do it. But then there's like, you can just tell that there's like, you can tell that they just haven't had a good cry, or that they haven't had someone that saw them in their vulnerability and then didn't lose respect for them, kind of thing.
Yeah.
How do you advise men to be able to embrace their emotions and process them without kind of dipping over to just falling apart?
Yeah, great question. So the answer is in that last part, the falling apart. You have to let it fall apart.
You have to fall apart.
Yeah.
I feel like this is what I was told by one of my mentors. The true masculine, your true masculine, is found at the very edge of your feminine.
Yeah.
Like you have to go into that like breakdown piece. And that seems to be where the masculine can really come alive.
Do you have any tools for people to process in a healthy way?
Yeah, I have a bunch of tools. What you said is absolutely correct, right? It's like on the edge, or even in like the full embrace of the feminine is where you really find true masculine. And let me add one more thing to this as well, because a lot of guys miss is that they try to be like, the Andrew Tates and all that stuff. And I think it's a good thing. Like you need to be more masculine. You need to work harder.
I think there's a lot of value to the top G.
Right.
In certain areas.
But the thing is, if that's all you are, good luck even getting married, for example. Like if all you are is that might be very attractive to a woman or a partner or even people on the front end, but it's also very like destabilized. It's unsafe. It's like this person will cut me out in 2 seconds just because I'm like, I don't meet a certain standard or whatever. So a lot of times it's actually very like it's insecure, it's unsafe.
Do you see this all the time with these new age podcasts of these like 20-year-old dudes who just rail on women for being, promiscuous or whatnot? And these guys are like, I would never, she has more than 3 people that she slept with, or they just have these hard rules, like she's got to be in the kitchen and whatnot. It's like, you guys sound like cucks. You sound so fucking insecure. You sound so insecure. You're like, he almost looks like some of them, like they're about to fucking cry. It's like, dude, you have no like, if you can't let your woman every relationship is unique and different, right? And there's frames, and everyone is, how a woman can be in that frame can be different for everybody. Having these like dogmatic rules and you just cut people out of your life, it's like, you're a bitch.
Yeah. Well, a lot of them are just like regurgitating the shit that they heard from other people, Totally. And I think some of that stuff is okay, right? I think it's important to have like boundaries and standards for like who you want in your life. But, you can just tell that they've probably never been with that many girls to begin with, it's like, and
the only way they get with them is they invite them on the podcast so they can talk.
They can roast.
I heard this one guy was like, think about on the back end, all day long, they're DMing these chicks that they're talking shit about. So they're like actually just like swooning for these girls to be around them, even though they're making fun of them. It's like they're actually probably secretly very attracted to them.
Yeah. And
they're getting egos by being around these girls that they supposedly hate. It's like, dude, you're using them for clout.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that, and also like a lot of times those traditional gender norms and gender roles, like the truth is like, no high value guys on a podcast be like, I'm a high value guy. It has to be like this, right? It's like, it's usually like a fucking 20-year-old guy.
Pro tip, the guy saying he's a high value guy, probably not a high value guy.
You don't see Joe Rogan being like, I'm a fucking alpha and I tell my wife to blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
If anything, Rogan can cry on his podcast. And he's one of the most masculine dudes out there.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like, it's like do you think a billionaire is walking up to a homeless man being like, I am rich? It's like, no, like it just doesn't make sense. Like they don't even need to do that.
Trump would. That's the one billionaire I can think of. That would
not trying hard enough.
Excuse me. You need to know I'm rich, richer than you, tremendously rich.
Outside of him, right? But in that same vein, it's like a lot of these guys like that, like it. Yeah, it's Joe Rogan saying like, my wife has to be in the kitchen. No, look, the reality of it is like, if you have a strong, powerful partner, maybe she like, I think what these guys are actually trying to say is like, they probably want a woman that's more nurturing and very supportive and that kind of, but that's different than she has to be in the kitchen and she has to cook and clean. Bro, that's a maid. Like that's a maid and a chef, like,
yeah.
And I think a lot of times, like when you do have a girl that she is totally in love with you and she wants to be a part of your life, she'll kind of like naturally do those things without you even demanding them.
It's called a healthy fucking relationship.
Correct. Right. So, but a 21-year-old living in Miami who like made a bag off of like ecom probably doesn't even know what that means. You know?
He hit one like crypto pump and dump and now he's an expert in relationships. Who
the
fuck are you?
Right? Exactly. So, I think a lot of that, it's like there is a lot of truth and good to be extracted from that. But the thing is, if you take it at face value and all you hear is that part, it's like, I think standards and boundaries are very important. And I think it's also good to know exactly what you want out of certain relationships. But also if you're not flexible with it, bro, good luck. Good luck finding like, not even just women, but even just like friends. Like, good luck finding strong business partners and strong comrades and battle buddies and guys that would like go to war for you kind of thing. It's like, if you have super rigid expectations and shit like that, it's like, you know, people, it's hard for people to live up to that, you know? So I think have strong boundaries, be very, very discerning, but at the same time, it's like when you do let someone in, it's like, you got to be real flexible with them and just give them the space, because no one's perfect. You got to give them the space to be messy. So a lot of this type of content that you see is like, these guys probably have like the most fragile egos, because they can't even admit to the fact that they're not perfect. And even if they like, they might even say that on the podcast, and they make it sound philosophical and profound, but they don't even know what that actually means. You know, I have friends, and I'm very cautious of what I hear people say. If you guys ever hear this from people, if they just throw out the word, I love you, bro. If they say, I love you, brother, like, and you barely fucking know them, it's like, okay, like it's a very, you know, I don't even think that person knows what actual love means.
It's like faux spirituality.
Correct.
It's like, this is how I'm supposed to do it, and this makes me seem like a deep intellectual spiritual person.
Right.
Oh, I love you, brother. I wear mala beads and I go to Tulum, not to knock Tulum, but like that's a lot of the vibe. Yeah, I mean, the shirt says otherwise. It's a fly shirt, dude. It actually says Miami, if I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah. That's what I was going for.
Yeah, but it's definitely, it's kind of an epidemic with this, you know, faux spirituality, and then real spirituality gets a bad name because now this is what's on the surface, and people see that and they're like, oh, you're like spiritual, or you're just like all those spiritual bros. Just like someone DM'd me the other day and was like, oh, you're one of those podcast bros. Like, technically, I have a podcast. Yes.
And technically, I'm a bro.
Yeah, and technically, I'm a bro. Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Don't assume my gender, sir.
Yeah.
No, but
how dare you call me sir?
No. Yeah. Like the fake spirituality stuff. Like, I think also where a lot, like where the bad rap comes from is I saw this is hilarious. I don't know who the guy is, but there's this hilarious guy. He just put out an Instagram reel where he's like, I'm manifesting my dream woman in 2024, and it's all parody, it's all comedy. But he's like,
I've seen this shit,
yeah, where he's like, I put selenite crystals in a tub, and I pour dry ice on them every single month with a picture of her on the outside and the qualities in her that I want, and then I put my iPad behind it with 639 hertz, so that way I'm magnetizing her to me, and then I cover it with a black cloth so I keep away the negative. It's just like this whole routine he has of like manifesting his dream wife, and it's like the most nonsense spiritual bullshit ever, but I'm sure people probably do it. And if you look at the comments, everyone's like, bro, is this real? Like, because it's sarcasm, right? And everyone is like, bro, don't tell anybody that you're doing this, because they're gonna fucking think you're a creep. You know, you've seen that video, right?
Yeah.
Like,
he does it so well that you in the comments, people think it's for real.
That's my favorite.
They're like, bro, just go outside. Like, get out of your
best
apartment.
way to manifest your dream girl, go outside.
But he does, like, you can't, when you're watching it, that's what sucks you in. You were like, is he for real? And it makes you want to leave a fucked up comment.
Yeah, it's so funny. Well, you know, you asked about like what are some of the tools, and I can even get into like some of the spiritual stuff of like what actual, like real spirituality looks like. And it's not little crystals and like, you know, you put one on your head and one in your asshole and like there your whole. No. It's like,
you're saying I have to take this crystal out of my asshole now?
Take it out now if you.
No,
can.
I'm gonna leave it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Okay, yeah, keeps you weighted and grounded. Okay, I get it. But one of the biggest tools, and I sort of created this. I'm not going to sit here. I'll never be the person that's like, I have all the answers, I created everything. But this one is like, there's probably like a million other frameworks that are similar to this one. It's just, I kind of adapted this one of my own, and I call it the 5A subconscious protocol, right? So 5A. So it's an acronym. And for anybody watching or anybody that ever feels any kind of like negative emotions, this is something that you can do to like allow the negative emotions to have their space, while also like being able to use that energy and be able to take action in the aftermath, right? Because like I said, I would never advocate for someone just to sit around and cry like a little bitch and say that I'm a victim for everything. No, that's literally worse. But the 5A subconscious protocol is this. So the first A is acknowledge. So acknowledge that there is something, that you're feeling something. The second A is allow it its space, allow it to be there. And however that shows up, whether it's like maybe you need to cry, maybe you have anger and frustration, or maybe you feel bad about yourself, or maybe you're feeling guilt and shame. So don't try to like drown it out. Don't try to put it at the end of your subconscious mind and pretend that it's not there, because real spiritual people, like genuinely spiritually connected people, all know that resistance is persistence, right? It's one of the biggest things I learned from Julian Blanc was resistance is persistence. So the more you try to resist the emotion, the more it's there. Like I said before, On the energetic plane, that's where all the truth is. So if you pretend it's not there, on the energetic plane, it's like, you know, I can't think, I had a friend say this and I started saying it too. I can't think of a single time where I tried to like avoid my emotions that actually turned out better for me. Maybe in like the short term, it's like it allowed me to, you know, finish the day or finish the week or whatever and work hard and whatnot. But on a long enough time horizon, like if I didn't deal with my emotions, I'd be so fucked right now, you know? And I think that's where like most people falter in their life and don't achieve the results that they want or can't find their purpose and shit. And it's because, you know, something like the 5A subconscious protocol is so simple, but yet it's ingenious, right? So the first thing is acknowledge, allow, and then accept. So you accept that this is what you're feeling right now from a place of zero judgment. Not that, so let's say you feel bad about yourself. You have guilt and shame coming up. So you might feel like a loser. You might feel like a failure. Fuck, I fucked up on this one thing. Man, I just had this breakup and I'm heartbroken over it. And I just feel so bad. I could have done things so many things differently, right? So you can sit there and feel these things and accept them for the reality. Yeah, you fucked up. Yeah, you're behaving like a loser. Right now, you're a loser. Things are not going your way. And it's almost like in the surrender of those emotions that they no longer have power over you, right? It's like you allow and accept those things to be there in that moment and give them their space, and they just like magically dissipate afterwards. And so the fourth A is absolve, like let go. So you let go of these emotions, almost like a cloud floating in the wind, you just let them fall through. And then the final A is action. So it's whether that's like a more slower pace, like maybe you need to go take a nap, maybe you need to go rest, maybe you need to go chat with a friend, maybe you need to go create something, right? Like art, we talked about music, right? Art and, you know, poetry and some of the most artistic things that you can do are actually very healing in a lot of ways, right? Or maybe you need to fucking knuckle up and go take some action, go get on the phone and call people, go knock some doors and make something happen, go create an opportunity for yourself. So in that way, it's like you can deal with your emotions in a very proactive way instead of them fucking controlling your life. Because the reality is, like I said, on the energetic plane, they're fucking there anyway. So the more you try to avoid them and ignore them and act like they're not there, they're actually controlling you. So that's one of like the main frameworks.
Why do you think this is so important nowadays?
It's important nowadays because of all the luxuries that we have, you know, like it's so, all the luxuries and all the comforts that humans have, like as a society, especially like in Westernized society, where everything is taken care of. And you just asked this is my $1 billion question, actually. I came across this $1 billion question 2 years ago, but it's really funny that you said this. I'll get into the $1 billion question afterwards, but this right here.
What a tease. What a tease, bro.
Keep that loop open.
I got some stuff working in the background, you know, but but we just have so much luxury, knowledge, and comfort as a Western, particularly in the West, right? Because there's obviously parts of the world that are famished and they don't have food and stuff. So they can't even like think in terms of this. But in Westernized society, think about like, are you guys familiar with like the energy centers, like the chakras of the body? Okay, so like your root chakra deals with like your financial stability, your stability in life, just your groundedness, right? So we solved for the most part outside of like your day-to-day experience. We solved that for most people, right? Like you go to the grocery store, you can buy groceries. You go home and you have a house over your head. You turn on the sink and there's water. So we have like the base. We're not at threat of a war, like a bomb dropping on our head, right? For the most part, unless Putin hits the fucking button.
Yeah, for now.
For now, right? So all of like our physical needs are basically taken care of. And you're not going to get attacked by a tiger or some shit, right? So, okay, physical needs are taken care of. And then you go like, if you go up the energy centers, the sacral chakra is your emotions and your sexuality. So there's a gap there, and I'll come back to the gap. The third chakra is like your confidence, your sense of self, your sense of purposefulness. So like they associate that area with that. But that's also, it's also associated with simple knowledge, right? So you don't need to remember the day that Pearl Harbor happened. You could just go on Google and like
November 13th, 1942.
There you go. Okay, so he remembers it, right?
I don't know if that's true.
Remember 9/11? What day that was? No, okay.
It was a Monday, I think.
It was a Monday. Okay.
See, of course you do. Why? Because I'm Arab. You son of a bitch. The fuck, bro.
Remember what happened?
Wasn't it your cousin?
His cousin.
Hey, that was a tragedy. Like we lost 2 really good pilots that day.
Oh my God.
Oh, that was rough.
But you know what happened the day before, right?
What
What happened on September 10th, 2001?
Bush signed something.
No, the Pentagon magically lost $2.3 trillion. Yeah. So, and then all of a sudden, boom, that happens, right? But okay, so I don't even have to remember that part because I can just go on Google and look it up. So, okay, so, simple knowledge is for the most part taken care of. You don't have to remember shit. You have a calculator on your phone. Complex knowledge is also taken care of to an extent, right? So complicated math equations, formulas for how things works, ideas, concepts, you can just kind of record it on your phone. Even your phone, you don't have to remember events in your life. You fucking pull out your phone, you take a video. So, your phone and just all of the modern luxuries, it's like a lot of the complex knowledge things are for the most part taken care of. Now, one level up above that is like, you guys ever hear in like the new age spiritual world, they talk about like the ascension,
fucking all the time.
Yeah. So that kind of thing.
The grand awakening.
Yeah. People are like, it's very, I hear it sometimes, I can tell by the tone of your voice, it's just like,
the reason
it's
is
like
because
arrogant spiritual bullshit. But
I've lived in like hippie villages and I've heard it from like 70-year-old hippies. They're like, it's coming. You're the new light beings. It's the new generation and we're moving up another dimension and fucking whatever. Yeah.
So I think they're a bit over optimistic on like right now being that moment because, and I'll tell you, this is where the $1 billion question comes in, by the way, but that spiritual ascension, it is true, right? Like if you a lot of people that are very clairvoyant and really, really tuned in and tapped in, you'll hear them talk about like Atlantis or all these like previous beings. Even in the Bible, it talks about like the Nephilim. It's like the humans lived with the Nephilim. It's like, wait, what? Why did you not elaborate on that part? Like, who the fuck are the Nephilim? And it's supposedly like these giants that lived with humans. So they say that like humans fell from godliness, right? That's like in the spiritual community and just like the clairvoyance and people, they kind of agree on that. It's like humans were like crazy. They were like gods. And then through, they say like, the way they fell was just like unconsciousness and conflict and whatever the fuck, right? So it's sort of like returning to that in a sense. And I think people are opening up and people are waking up, but there's also just like so much messiness and chaoticness that comes with that as well, to where it's like, okay, sometimes you lose faith in humanity because it's just like all the fucking nonsense that happens. So how this relates to like that next level on the ladder of just like human consciousness and development as a whole is like that. So we, complex knowledge, good. Simple knowledge, good. Emotional, there's a gap though. And then, our basic needs are taken care of, right? So in order to ascend into like, and actually have the awakening as a human consciousness, the emotional aspect is the thing that we're missing. Because when I talk about emotions and I say emotions and mental health in the West, what do you guys know about mental health in the West?
Rapidly declining.
Or prescriptions,
You said you said the two exact answers that I was looking for, right? Like everyone's on fucking, antidepressants. Mm-hmm. You could literally go to any doctor and get fucking Adderall. It's pharmaceutical meth, and you can get it in 2 seconds. Antidepressants, all this shit, right? So, and it's a multi-billion, I don't know if it's $1 trillion industry, but it's a multi-billion dollar industry. And these people like, they have so much control over politics and fucking everything. It's pervasive, right? And why? Well, it's because mental health is declining, and it's because we have all the modern luxuries, but no one at large was taught, like in schools and in upbringing and in most of our parents and stuff. Nobody was taught like emotional mastery, right? There's a psychologist in the 90s. People actually dismiss him as like a bullshit psychologist. This guy named John Bradshaw, and he found that 96% of families are dysfunctional to some degree. 96% of families. What that means is only 4% of people that you ever run into are actually healthy, right? And this is exactly that part right there. It's like, if you can flip that and make it 96% of people healthy, that's a $1 trillion business, $1 billion idea right there, So I'm not sure how that's the $1 billion question for me. It's like, okay, I recognize that there's like this massive problem. Pharmaceutical companies are worth billions of dollars and they're just fucking giving this shit out like candies to babies, right? And the babies are taking the candy and wanting more, So if there's a way that I can help facilitate emotional mastery for people at like a large scale where like millions and millions of people heal, I guess that's like in terms of like monetary value that would provide in business, that would be like billions of dollars. I'm not too concerned about being a billionaire. It's not like really, I'm not like, I'm going to be the next Steve Jobs. I understand that like those guys are, those are like upper level, like crazy outliers in terms of intelligence and just ambition. And they also probably had some help from the inside, if you know what I mean, right? But so that's not necessarily my intention. For me, it's more like the healing aspect. And definitely that emotional mastery part of it is like people just don't have it. And this is why like you see people that they go fucking they either do like the traditional thing where it's like, okay, go to college, get good grades, graduate, get a nice cushy job. All right, marry, you know, Sally from next door, have 2.5 kids with a golden retriever and the white picket fence. And it's like, and then, but you know, they're like 60 years old and there's no like wisdom to them. There's no like depth to them. Or it's like people do the opposite thing. Okay, go make a bunch of fucking money, right? And so they become rich. And then it's like, dude, you suck. You know, like I'm sure you guys have met like rich people that are, you know, probably even our age. And it's just like, I don't like you, dude. Like the money and the status stuff is like, okay, cool. I guess that's impressive. It's hard to create those things, but like, I don't like you, you know, like
becomes their personality.
Correct. Right. So I think that's what happens when you don't have emotional mastery, essentially. Yeah. So the emotional mastery aspect of just like being a person who's strongly centered and connected with yourself, it's like, it's part of it is, you know, the genuine spiritual journey. It's not like crystals and everything's, you know, happy, kumbaya, like love and all that stuff like that's, you can get to that point. But the truth is to get there, it's fucking messy. Like every genuinely spiritually connected person that I know is like, they've been through like a lot of like emotional turmoil, chaos, and not necessarily trauma per se, but just uncovering a lot of the pain that they've experienced in their life and being able to like genuinely reconcile some of those things so they can move forward. And then it's like, you know, I remember times like I used to have major depression and anxiety. So I don't know if you guys ever struggled with mental health at all? Okay. So, you know, I used to have major depression and anxiety when I graduated university and I went back to Miami. I went to a therapist, right? And he diagnosed me with major depression and anxiety. And he was like, if you don't get better in 2 months, I'm going to put you on antidepressants. And I'm like, fuck no, but sure, whatever, bro. But no shot I was going to take any of that. And I just, you know, every single person, there's big 3 negative emotions, right? The big 3 is stress, so anxiety, depression, and anger. So every single person gravitates towards one of those things, right? For me, it was more like depression and anxiety. Anger wasn't really something that like I struggled with too much.
Do you think that changes over time? Yeah. Or does one person have one thing?
Yeah. People evolve. People change. Yeah, people definitely evolve. For me, it's more anger because I don't really resonate with depression and anxiety, and not even anger, more like rage. I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go. Yeah.
I was definitely more depression in like 19, 20 years old, and now I shift towards anxiety.
Interesting. Okay. Well, so what happens with people in those moments and in those stages is that it's like your comfort zone. You're habituated to that emotion because it's like, it's predictable, it's reliable, right? Nowadays, I don't even meditate anymore. You know, I used to have to meditate 20, 30 minutes a day. If not, I wasn't centered. I just had all this depression and anxiety bubble up. And now it's like, I probably meditate maybe once a month when I'm like bored or something, you know, but there's like, I have a to-do list of like 100 things and meditation is like 101. Right. And I finally understand. I used to hear Gary Vee talk about this on stage where he's like, people have asked him, what's your routine for mindfulness? Do you meditate? Do you do X? Do you do Y? And he's like, I don't do any of that stuff. Like all the benefits that they talk about from when you meditate, it's like, I feel those things naturally. I finally understand it. Like I'm at that point where I'm like 90% of the time I'm in a good state of mind, feeling confident, positive, connected, flowing, that kind of thing. And then I still allow for that 5 or 10% to like be a mess and be chaotic and stuff.
But it takes the work to get to that point.
Correct.
It's like putting on muscle. So you don't just become muscular.
Right.
Like you have to do the work, eat the food, lift, spend hours in the gym, and then eventually you can go in maintenance mode. Correct.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's even with my physique, that's where I've been working out consistently 5 to 6 days a week for the last 15 years, you know, literally half my life. And, you know, so, you know, people are like, oh my gosh, like you're in such good shape, man. Like, what's your tip? What's your secret? And I'm like, bro, like I've been doing this forever, you know, like, and I also do have a lot of things, right? Like I have a lot of weird Nick saw me drinking eggs. I crack 6 eggs after the gym. I don't drink protein shakes. I don't do like whey protein or any of that stuff, like on its protein and stuff like that. I don't do any of that because it's all processing. I try to eat as clean as possible. Like, no preservatives, the least amount of ingredients on the food label, the better. So instead of protein shakes, I'll just like crack 6 eggs, mix them up and just fucking drink them, you know? And so Nick saw me doing that. He's like, what the fuck? And it's like, the thing about drinking eggs is when you cook them, you lose a lot of protein and like a lot of the micronutrients that are in it. If you just drink them straight up, like your body processes it a lot faster and there's more protein in it, right? So little shit like that, you know, eat healthy fats, get a lot of sunlight, be in a positive mental state. Oh, that's another, we talk about that, you know, testosterone, right? Testosterone's a big thing that like a lot of people are struggling. That's partly why mental health is fucking declining because our grandfathers had 3x more testosterone in their bodies than us, right? So a lot of times, like what the biggest thing I coach even into my clients is like that mindfulness literally increases your testosterone. right? Because testosterone and cortisol, you talk about anxiety, testosterone and cortisol are inversely related. So the lower your cortisol, which is your stress hormone, the lower your cortisol, the higher testosterone you have, right? But it's also the opposite is true. The higher your cortisol, the lower your testosterone. So if you're constantly in a state of stress, in a state of fight or flight, you're literally less ambitious, you're less aggressive, you're less mentally clear, you're less extroverted, you're less everything. All the things that like if there's any success hormone, it's testosterone.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it truly is. Even in women that are really successful, like elite women, they have higher levels of testosterone, but they burn out, which I found out was really interesting because in women, their testosterone is produced, a lot of it from the adrenal gland. Mm-hmm. And so when they produce testosterone, it's coming with adrenaline. And so they're on an adrenaline high for a long time. So that's why like really high level elite women that are like CEOs for a long time, they burn out faster. Even if they can perform better than elite men because they're better at multitasking. So it's like shorter bursts, like they're way better, but they tend to like burn out faster because they're just high on adrenaline all the time.
Yeah, that's going to fuck up their estrogen and progesterone.
Totally.
Like eventually it's not going to work.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you know.
What's your take on psychedelics?
Personally, I've tried a few of them. Not for me, at least not yet. And I also don't advocate for anybody to take them until they've done the deeper work. That's sort of my take on them. Because the thing is, there's levels to this shit. You know, there's like acid and shrooms, but then there's like ayahuasca and fucking DMT and all this like other crazy shit that literally puts you in a different dimension. And I think a lot of times people like they do those things to substitute the deeper work. And I don't think it works. Like have you guys done psychedelics and stuff? Yeah.
It's called the Two Fun Guys podcast. So.
Are you tripping now?
I mean a little bit.
You didn't get, was that what was in the...
Yeah, you thought that was ketones, dude?
That's 100 tabs of acid.
Let's go.
Welcome to the party, my friend.
I thought I was seeing fucking things, you know? Yeah. So I think a lot of times people do that. And like, I don't know that it actually worked on them, you know? Like, I know people that have done like a bunch of ayahuasca ceremonies, Kambo, Bufo, this and that. And I'm just like, dude, how are you still here? You know, like, how are you still at this level of like your progression, your deep work? So for me personally, I've tried Mamafuka, which is like a derivative of DMT that one of my closest friends, he's a Reiki shaman from Brazil. He'll literally go into the Amazon and get like, you know, really, really good, clean, very like sacred stuff. I've done that a couple times. I didn't have like a life-changing experience or whatever. It was just kind of like, okay, I trip balls and now I'm back and I feel good, I guess, you know. Acid, I've done it a few times and I just freak out. Like I get really, really anxious. And shrooms also 2 times I got super anxious. I'm like, yeah, I'll wait. I'll wait when I feel ready in the future to do them. I just don't feel like I need them right now. You've done like ayahuasca and stuff?
Ayahuasca is next on my list. It's calling me. Ayahuasca is one of those things where you have to be called to do it. Mm-hmm. You can't just like jump into it. Brent's done it quite a few times. He's pretty experienced with it. It's the one. I've done so many. We both have done so many psychedelics in our lives. I used to take 10 strips of acid at a time, like 10 hits at once. Like I can fucking handle my psychedelics. But there's something about ayahuasca that I'm very resistant to. So I'm working through that right now.
10 tabs acid is way scarier.
I don't know, dude. Yeah. Ayahuasca freaks me out. So
because acid is like very computer-like feeling. I don't feel any organic sensation, and it's like my brain. It can be fun, but it's also malfunctioning a little bit. Where ayahuasca has like a spirit to it.
I don't know. I feel super smart on acid. I can solve any problems.
I'm telling. I mean, we should work on our Amazon store on acid.
It's true. Yeah, we'll figure out the marketing.
Hey, Steve Jobs, wasn't he in college taking acid? And
it's true. That's where Apple came from.
Yeah. That's interesting. Like, that's the thing that I've noticed about like psychedelics too. It's just people have so many different experiences. You're like, okay, I feel like a computer. You're like, I can solve anything. I'm like,
because it's not about the drug.
I throw up.
Yeah, totally. And that happens to some people. And because it's not about the drug, it's not about the compound itself. It's about like your body too. And some people just don't resonate with it. And that's totally fine. I think the reason, like you said, a lot of these people, they go to ayahuasca and bufo and acid and mushrooms and they still are almost like unevolved to a degree. It's like they missed the whole point, which was the integration. Yeah. You have to integrate what you experience. Otherwise, you just get stuck in the spiritual loop of like, oh, I'll go do ayahuasca 3 times a year for 10 years. And then you just you live in this spirit realm without ever bringing it to reality.
Ungrounded.
It's super ungrounded. And I've seen that. We both have seen that so many times. And the thing with doing the work that you're talking about, like without the psychedelics, that's like the long path. and it's probably the right path, right? Like that takes longer to get there. Psychedelics can be used as a shortcut. I see. Like you can get there faster, but you have to be very diligent, and you have to know, like, okay, now that I have this information that was like it's like a fire hose that you just absorbed, you have to then spend the time to integrate it. Otherwise, you're just going to go back to being normal.
Yeah.
Or people use it as a religion. It becomes their personality. And then now they're saying the words, they're wearing the clothes, they're listening to the music, they're doing the things, and it's like, it's their group, it's their whatever. But yeah, you look at them and you're like, I feel like your life's the fucking same.
Yeah. You're just wearing more beads.
You're going to like ceremony 300. You're like, if you didn't get it after the first 10, I don't know.
Right. I always equate it, like a good analogy for this is like steroids in the gym, you know? Yeah. I feel like a lot of people in the gym, they do this, like, I want to get big now, and they'll go do steroids, and like maybe they get a little bit big, but then the gains go away immediately. Why? Because they had a shitty foundation. Yeah. Right. I have
there's so many dudes that take gear that don't look like anything.
Yeah, right. Like when I was in college, I was in a fraternity, and like I didn't know this, but like I found out like a year later, but half of my fraternity brothers were on steroids, and none of them, I looked better than all of them, you know? And it's because they were
eating ramen and drinking alcohol.
Yeah, exactly. Like getting fucked up, getting blacked out, not sleeping, and then going to the gym and like working out like shit, you know?
Probably had low tests in the first place, which is like,
right, exactly.
Training ain't gonna work without your test, dude.
Exactly. So, you know, in that way, it's like, I think people do the same thing with ayahuasca. They don't have like a solid foundation, and they're using it almost as like to jump the thing, or also like, yeah, they just like caught on to the wave of ayahuasca or whatever. So, I think each person has their own individual experience, and I think, yeah, when you feel called to do it, then for sure, go ahead and do it. I personally, like, I just haven't really felt called to do them like seriously. Like every time I did it, it was always like, oh, you have it? All right, like I'll try it, whatever. It was never like really, really intentional. And I think that's also why, like, whenever I did acid, I would throw up, because I'm just like, I wasn't mentally prepared for it. I was just kind of like, oh, okay. And then I'm like, I gotta go.
Yeah, it's not a casual drug.
Yeah. Or like I would do it at like a music festival or some shit like that, and just get fucking anxious, you know?
I mean, it is the best place to do it.
Yeah. Well, not on your first time.
Not for your first time, no. Dude, I had a friend, his first time doing acid was in he was like 16 or something, and there was this haunted a house in their neighborhood that was notoriously haunted, and nobody had lived in it for like 15 years, and they all went to go stay the night in the house, like him and some friends, and they took acid.
Oh my God.
And he had the worst fucking time of his life. I was like, what did you expect, homie? That's the worst place you could possibly do acid.
That's literally how you traumatize yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Horrible trip. Yeah. That's my take on that. Yeah.
Dude, I mean, you've obviously put a lot of work into what you do, and you've been on this journey for a really long time. And we don't have too much time left on the podcast, but what would you share with people who are like brand new to this realm, right? And they're interested, they feel themselves on this trifecta of like the stress and the depression and the rage, and they're feeling these things. What's the first step that they can take to really start figuring out the path?
Yeah, it's kind of like Alcoholics Anonymous, right? The first step is admitting that there's a problem. And I think that's ultimately the
first A in the 5 A's.
The first, yeah,
you got to acknowledge.
Right. Oh, yeah, exactly. Acknowledge, right? Just drop your guard, because I think the biggest problem that people suffer from is not necessarily the emotion itself, but it's like the mental battle that happens when they feel the emotion. I shouldn't feel that way. Like, so this is particularly for men, right? At least, and I mostly coach men. I don't really like to coach women that much anymore, because I think there's like way better women that can lead women on their own path, right? I'm not a woman, as you can tell, hopefully. But I mostly coach men now for that reason. And what I see is a lot of guys, they get into this fucking mental battle with themselves. Oh, I should be working harder, or I should be like grinding 24/7. Like, fuck, I watched Instagram reels for 3.5 minutes. I'm a piece of shit. So it's like they kind of have this mental battle. When if you just like drop the sword and you end the mental battle and the war that's going on inside of your head, that overthinking that you do, instead of looping on all the negative shit, you can actually use that mental bandwidth towards positive things. Right. And I think this happens particularly to like intelligent men, right? They just get into like this negative mental loop, and all that's happening is their mental bandwidth is being used against them. Right. It's a curse when you don't know how to control it, but it's actually a gift when you can channel it in the right way and get into the right mental state, and then dedicate that towards like some kind of life purpose. So the first step is like understanding like, okay, there's something I need help with. Right. The second thing is figure out what your purpose in life is. Like, figure out, you need to have a strongly defined purpose for why you're alive. And it doesn't have to be like, really glorious or something like me. It could be, maybe you want to be a chef, maybe you want to be a teacher, maybe you want to be a musician or something. And maybe you don't even want to be the best in the world at it. Like I'm very like grandiose with my goals, right? World class. Like that's something I've been telling myself for like 4 or 5 years. Even before I had a world class brand, I was like, I am world class. I'm one of the best in the world in this space. And then over time, it sort of became true. And maybe that's not your purpose, but at least you have something that it's like you wake up every day and this is exactly what I'm working on. And then I think the final step is you just got to get mentors, right? You need to get around the right people. A lot of times people see like my ability to speak, my ability to do business, my confidence in myself, my wisdom and my intellect. And I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. Let's be real, because I've spent more than $200,000 on coaches, masterminds, mentorships. And like when people tell me that, and like when I think about that, I'm just like, oh, I probably could have bought like a Lambo with that, or I could have bought like a bunch of Rolexes and APs and stuff like that. And so when I tell like some of my friends about how much I've spent on coaches, masterminds, mentorships, programs, travel expenses to go see some of my mentors, right? They're just like, holy shit, you spent that much. But then they see like the results I get in my life and the wisdom and knowledge and intellect and self-connection I'm able to literally translate into others people's lives just by like even being around me. They're like, oh, okay, it makes sense, you know? And I also went and got world-class mentors. I didn't just get like Joe next door. You know, I found the best people that I can find. Like some of my spiritual mentors and energetic healers, they used to do energetic work on Tony Robbins. You know, like I found out, I was like, oh, you worked on Tony Robbins? I want you to do some work on me. And some of the best closers in the world, I learned from some of the best salespeople in the world, like literally. And even in my physique, I had IFBB pros train me on my physique as well. And so literally every aspect of my life that I want to get better in, I find the best mentors that I can. I pay them whatever the fuck it is, you know, because even on the front end, like of that 200K, and this is going to sound crazy, but $90,000 of it was spent on credit cards and loans. I didn't have the money on the front end. I'm just like, okay, I need to learn from this guy. This guy's a really good marketer. Just take my fucking money and I'll figure it out afterwards, you know? So I remember this one time I spent, there was he's still a good friend of mine. Shout out Tanner Tredester. But
big old Tanner.
Yeah. Oh, you know him?
Yeah.
Cool.
Homies with his brother.
Oh, nice.
I don't know
Which
Tanner.
one? Benson. Okay, cool. Yeah, because he's Benson and Gentry. But you know, his program was like $18K, and I'm like, I don't know, I'm gonna do this, but like whatever. I just got a loan for $18K, and I paid him. Like I put a $50 deposit down, paid the $18K, and then 2-3 months later, I had my first $40K month, and I'm like, holy shit! Like how many times can I do this again? Like I need to do this again and again and again. Right? So you know, for me, it's like every time I found world-class mentors and I actually put in the work, I got a massive ROI on it. So you know, I think the same thing happens not just financially, but in your fitness and your mindset and your spirit and your soul and your physique, right? So, and you know, any area you want to like, so whatever area of your life is like holding you back the most, it's like just find someone who's like has a high degree of competency in that area and just learn from them too. That's probably like the biggest things I would tell someone if they're and also you have to be seriously committed. It's not just something like mastery and self mastery, right? Like I think it's kind of like a word thrown around a lot, and you know, I see people like have it on their bios and shit now, right? Like self-mastery this, and, you know, and I think it kind of gets thrown around casually, but it's actually like serious work, you know, like it's not for the faint of heart. It's not for the people that are impatient. It's not for the people that want an instant result or want things to come easy. No, like I've always been the kind of person, and I'm sure you guys are as well, right? We talked about Zelda. I've always felt like I've been on a fucking hero's journey. I feel like life has thrown so much fucking adversity and contrast and challenge at me. And in my younger years, I always saw that as like, fuck, like, woe is me. Like, oh my gosh, like it feels like other people have it easier. Nowadays, I welcome the challenge. You know, in fact, in my worst moments, and every single year I have major highs and I also have major lows, and I embrace every single moment of it. And in those lows, I'm like, that's all you got, motherfucker? Like, let's go, man. Like, let's bring it on. I'm ready to go. So
the lower low you feel, usually the higher high you come out of it with.
And that's why it's important to acknowledge the emotions, right? Because I know we're short on time, but I think this is a really good illustration of just like energy and emotion, right? Like when people don't feel their emotions, think about like emotions like waves, right? That like a lot of times emotions are associated with the water element, and water, it's like waves, like the waves come in, waves come out. So it's like emotions are like this. So, you know, and every single person has their baseline. Now, if you don't know how to feel and you don't spend the time to like understand, it's almost like learning a fucking language. Right? You're learning the language of like being with yourself. If you don't understand that language, well, you kind of have like your baseline is right here. So maybe you don't feel bad about certain things, but you don't really feel the peaks and troughs. That's why like Wes Watson has said before, I died a long time ago, bro. Like I don't have a fucking soul, right? Like, well, it's because he's the kind of person that like And great, you know, maybe he's successful, but he's the kind of person that never dealt with like the ups and the downs and just said, fuck everything. And I'm just going to like remain here, right? Horrible strategy for a long term. It might be good for like short-term success, but long-term is like your quality of life, like not great. And then you piss off a bunch of people and now they're fucking attacking you like crazy. So that's also like, I'm sure that's not fun. But, you know, so what I tell people is like, embrace the dips, embrace the troughs, I call them. There's peaks and then there's troughs. And so you embrace those troughs. What happens is you raise your energetic baseline. So maybe it used to be like down here, and then you experience some of those downsides. Now your baseline's way up here. So you have a greater capacity to feel and hold space for people and a greater capacity to explain things and just to like express yourself into the world. And it's because you spent that time to master yourself, which is the difficult part that like, you know, people just, whether they don't want to do it or they're just not courageous enough, like whatever the case might be, a lot of times they just don't do it. So, that is probably like the best illustration of just like, well, you want to get into like a peak state and you want to transcend your current reality where you're experiencing all those big 3 negative emotions, and you want to get to a place where there's more ease, there's more flow, more money, more opportunity, more better friends, better dating partners, right? I always focus on the energetic stuff because the money, the success, the accomplishment, the accolades literally become the byproduct, right? Because someone who has a high level energy, someone who has got this capacity to just like express and like they're vibrant. Like you said, when I first got here, it's like your voice fills the room, right? It's like I've spent so much time on the energetic portion of my work because I know that that's going to automatically translate to business success, to networking results, to travel opportunities, adventure opportunities. Like last thing I will say, you know, another really key point I give to people is tune into what you always wanted to do when you were a kid, right? And so for me, you know, it's kind of funny, but when I was a kid, you can tell I'm a nerd, right? Because when I was a kid, there was 2 things I wanted to do. I wanted to be a Pokemon trainer and I wanted to be a scientist. And so the Pokemon trainer, that's not a real fucking thing. Like, you know, you can't catch Pikachu running around, right? But I mean, there is technically like international Pokemon battles and shit like that.
There's Pokemon Go, yeah.
Yeah, there's Pokemon Go. Well, I mean, like there's like international Pokemon battles that are like massive tournaments and shit. And you got to train your team and like, yeah, it's actually a pretty big deal. But I'm not going to do that, you know? But the way I translated that as an adult is I love adventure. Obviously, I love animals, but I love adventure. I love exploring things. I love leveling up in life, right? And then the scientist part was I just love to understand things. I love to like dissect things to their minute, like I said earlier, right? The gold, the values, and the nuance, right? So I've always been the type of person where I need to understand fucking everything and I need to know everything, right? And that's just kind of been like my nature as I grew up. So it's like, it's pretty interesting how, you know, I developed a life and a lifestyle where I just kind of do whatever I want on my own terms with nothing holding me back. I travel whenever I want. If I don't want to hang out with someone, I don't hang out with them because I'm not compelled or obligated to do anything I literally don't want to. And I can travel at a moment's notice to anywhere in the world and I'll still make money and I'll still find friends and I'll still find people. And I also like, I created a business and a lifestyle where it's like everything I do is like, I'm also learning new things 100% of the time, right? New ways to articulate things. Even doing like, I love doing podcasts, especially because it's like every time I watch the playbacks and stuff, it gives me like a lot of insight as to how I can articulate things better. It's like, okay, well, maybe I could have said this a little bit better. Maybe
it's like watching game footage.
Yeah, 100%.
Go improve, yeah.
Right? Kobe Bryant would watch himself playing basketball. I watch myself talking because this is my craft. Right. So
same. And, you know, we both come from the world of high ticket sales. That's why you do call reviews. It's so important. You got to watch your calls. You get them reviewed by a mentor that you look up to that's better than you. It's the only way to get better. And it's scary as hell to go get your call roasted in front of people with your mentor.
I was always the person I was like, put my call up.
100%. I always had a call ready to go.
Yeah. Cool.
Dude, you've been spitting some mad fire. Thank you for coming. Any last words that you would say to people?
Last words. Go follow me on Instagram. You can follow me, Jose Moralejo, JoseMoralejo. If you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I also post a lot of long form content where it's just, you know, I spoke a couple months ago. It was my longest segment yet. So I spoke for almost 5 hours and that was really fun. Yeah. Really good knowledge, really good insights to a lot of people came out to me afterwards. It was a 2-day seminar. The first day I spoke for like 55 minutes or something. And the second day I spoke for 5 hours. And a bunch of people came out to me afterwards and they were like, you know, Jose, like the first day, honestly, like I gotta be real, and I hope I'm not offending you, but like I didn't fuck with you the first day. Like I didn't think it was that good. But then you spoke today and I'm like, holy shit, this guy's fucking legit. You know, this guy's for real. So if you're into that kind of thing, you know, go ahead and follow me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. And I appreciate you guys for bringing me on. This has been fun.
Yeah, thanks, brother.
Yeah, dude, thanks for coming.